People who clean up after festivals and similar events. What is the best and worst things you have found left behind? Not a cleaning person, but I saw a prosthetic leg left at the end of a metal festival. I was at a metal festival once, and when we were drunk and high, we decided to go into the fun fair bit on the way back from the last performance of the night. A friend of mine went down the helter-skelter, followed by a woman whose leg fell off when she got to the bottom. For a second we were trying to figure out if we actually saw what we had seen. But it was a prosthetic leg. Down the helter-skelter. Quoy. I have cleaned up and found entire cooking sets and chairs. Free kitchen. I arrived with great expectations of a euphoric and carefree festival experience. I departed with a kitchen. So it is like a game show. Only no taxes on your one. Score. I found a cooler in 135 in the lot after a fish show. What was in the cooler? It is ice. There is also a mound in there. It is time to rewind. I was working at the festival, although not doing cleanup, and stayed till the day after. The amount of tents people leave behind, brand new tents. Basically, people just buy new stuff for that festival and then cannot be bothered to bring it home, dispose of it properly. I ended up with a brand new 10-person tent, thanks to some other people's laziness. Worst is definitely a tie between the 5-liter water carrier filled with urine, or the lidded saucepan containing a single, fairly large, poo. You kept the pan. Right. Damn right. Throwing away a barely used pan like that. What am I? A millionaire? Could have washed the pan with that pee. I did a clean at a 3-day music festival once. Literally the first night I had to clean one of the portable shower cubicles, because someone would poop in the corner and stuck a cocktail umbrella in it. Disgusting that someone would do that, but the umbrella bit made me laugh. That poo was probably the hottest holiday destination for flies all around the world. My dad used to be the guy in charge of renting out the Knights of Columbus Hall. To policy. He had to be on site during the event, but would clean up after. The cleanup would usually be the next day, and I'd come along to help. The best thing we found was a $500 tip left behind by the father of the bride after a wedding reception with a little thank you note. The worst was finding the punch bowl the next day after someone had puked in it and put the lid over it. I am pretty sure it had been spiked with something pretty strong before that. 2. Bottle of rum. Lots and lots of drugs. Watches. Phones. Perfectly good clothes. Welly boots. Wallets, cash, etc. Worst is poop tents. As in, abandoning your tent but doing a massive poop in it before you go so it can be reused. Poop tents is a regular occurrence. Like someone could be in the car getting on the highway and be like, "Oh, I forgot to poop tent." Maybe they poop in a tent because the porta potties are often so very disgusting at many concerts. A heavily used dildo. Stuck. Tip up. On a tent stake. Do dildos have built-in odometers? You count the rings. Oh god. After fish shows there is a group of volunteers that clean up a lot. It is called Green Crew. The first time I did it I was not fully aware what the point was. We got gloves and a trash bag, then spread out on one side of the lot and walked across it picking poop up. When we got to the other side, everyone was way faster than me getting to the other side. We were told to consolidate bags. I go to pour mine into the guy next to me. He goes, "No dude. We only pick up returnable and recyclable stuff." As I poured trash and glow sticks and like food and poop into his bag of recyclables. I did Green Crew at Gathering of the Vibes for a few years. I guess I was naive like you, since I would pick up cigarette butts and other pieces of regular trash. Did it once, as a fundraiser for a youth organization, and collectively we found 3,010 mobile phones. And this was during the days when it was a somewhat luxury to have a phone. Clarification edit: I didn't personally find and keep all of the above. This is what was found by the group of us, which was around 40 teenagers. I found 35 and no phones. Lucky. Indeed. I was in my early teens, so the money I personally found seemed like a small fortune. I cleaned up for an event once, and it was an event where you were not allowed to bring your own alcohol, and so they can get you to buy it from the event itself and whatnot, so cops were taking people's alcohol. Cool. That is fine. I was cleaning up and 2 cops walked over and asked if I was 18. I showed them my license to prove I was. And they gave me almost 1,000 of untouched alcohol that they did confiscated from people trying to sneak it in. Bottles of vodka and tequila. A lot of beer and rum and a bunch of ciders, all given to me cause I was a volunteer and not getting paid otherwise. Was fucking great. I worked for a summer driving the buses and cleaning them for a summer fest. Never found much left on the buses except outlet of vomit. Except this one time we were walking through the lot tallying how many buses had a certain type of radio for the company, and I found a money pouch left on the bus by one of the girls whose job it was to collect payments from those riding the buses to the fairgrounds. In those days I was a poor college student and I choked when I saw there was around 2,000 in there. But I was also a good girl and turned it in. Apparently they had been set to fire her and sue her for the stolen cash. So I saved her from a criminal record. But of course she still lost her job for being careless. I never did get even a thank you from the company. You did the right thing, so I will say thank you. I am an usher at my neighborhood movie theater, so I don't know if this counts, but I found a plastic bag under a seat with 6 guppies swimming around inside, so I kept the guppies for myself, lol. I had to Google how to take care of fish, but it was fun and I still have them today. You are a good person. A lot of people do not care for fish because they are cheap and are looked as disposable, but they are still living sentient beings. As someone who recently got into the aquarium hobby, I didn't realize how poorly taken care of most fish are. Even as someone who does their due diligence and research beforehand, I've still lost fish, and it made realize just how fragile they are. I am an event manager for corporate conferences and trade shows. Best thing I've seen left behind was from a large well-known medical company. They left an open brand new defibrillator that you had seen in an emergency room. When I called and told them they had left it behind, they said to keep it. So naturally I googled the item. Retail cost $5,000. Worst item, nothing too crazy fortunately. Probably some used hair weaves or cheap dildos adult industry shows. Not a rave. But when I lived at a party house in my early 20s, I once cleaned up after a big night and found a cigarette with lipstick on the end you typically light. The lipstick wearer had smoked it backwards and inhaled nearly the entire filter. The filter is where they hide all the heroin. It's the best bit. No cure for cancer. I was told to cut everything off of the tree of happiness, where everyone was told to write something down that made them happy and tie it to the tree. It was in a public park, so they all had to be removed. And I put them into a jar because I did not think I should just throw them away. So now I still have what I call a jar of happiness. Still do not know what to do with it. I did love to see the messages. If you have the time and energy to make a website or an Instagram where you upload a pic of each one, it would be so cool. Like post secret but only wholesome content. That is a lot of time and energy, though, I am guessing. We were too wasted to leave a music festival outside of Capital A once. So we just hung out and waited for everyone else to take off. When my BF and I finally got straight enough to pack up, we walked through a wasteland of expensive brand name tents and chairs. We put our stuff away and then literally just walked around picking stuff up. The people cleaning had already picked through all the good stuff and were literally filling wheelbarrows full of things. We ended up scoring a Musa-Jaw 8-person tent that was barely used. I found a few pair of designer glasses and a crap ton of other clothes like hoodies and very nice jeans. My BF found a really expensive folding knife and a brand new Canon 5D that had one picture of someone's butt on it. He found a coin purse that had 300 in it and no ID under a styrofoam cooler. We also found a Yeti cooler that was filled with crushed hard seltzer cans and a poo that we cleaned out. We packed his SUV literally to the brim with expensive stuff and have been using it all for years. Poop tent. It is a 5-gallon bucket filled with laundry detergent with a toilet seat on top placed in a cheap tent. Imagine open that sucker up after 4 days of 100-degree weather. Dead body. It was an apparent OD. Booze and drugs. Also an ATRA stank. That night after work was fun. Dead body. Wow, a lot of these are drugs and stuff, but man, that is a whole other level of messed up. Full cases of beer that people cannot be bothered to carry. Weed that people forget. Entire tents in good condition. Weed that people forget. Remember kids. Only users lose drugs. That is fucking brilliant. I was a volunteer at a large festival. Though I did not work cleaning the camping area. But I did speak to one of the scavengers who roamed the camping area afterwards. He said the best loot was car batteries and Euro pallets. Turns out there are hardware and construction companies who will pay you a deposit for those things. He also found tons of beer. Oh, by far the worst was a group of friends, easily 10-15 of them by the evidence, who had a tent that they used as a bathroom so they didn't have to go to the portaloos. Fully just sat in the corner and worked their way out over the days. It was horrendous. I don't understand how anyone could have gone in there with the smell. I will never understand why people will dedicate a whole fucking tent just for shitting when you can buy a halfway decent cassette oil for like 60 at Walmart. Which would not stink as much as a literal poop tent. Costs less. Does not permanently scar or clean up volunteer if you happen to leave it. Can be cleaned and reused. Or just chuck the whole thing in the dumpster if you do not want to bother. Seems like a no fucking brainer to me. We had always find pipes. Condoms in various states. Gross. Once I found a gift card mixed in with the detritus next to the stage. I checked the 1-800 number and it still had 100 value. But I do not know if it is the best or worst thing. But one time after the last concert, after the bands left and the sound and light contractor had packed out and left, we found a girl under the stage. Seriously hungover and looking like heck but still alive. Apparently. She crawled up under there at some point and passed out. Slept for 6 hours. One of the house crew loaned her a cell phone and she called someone to come pick her up. Off she went to rock another day. Honestly, that was probably the safest place she could have been. As a woman passed out for several hours and who was apparently alone. Not a worker or cleaner, but the morning we woke up to leave Bonnaroo, one member of our group found an 800-gram chunk of opium on the ground outside his tent. It was amazing. Super high quality and we couldn't really believe it. He gave each of us a hunk and kept the rest. Unsurprisingly, it actually was the catalyst for him to slide into opiate addiction and changed his life forever. I often wonder how life would have turned out for him if he had just looked the other way. This is probably the saddest one I have read in this thread. Not quite what was asked, but I have an uncle who runs a 2-day festival. It is held on tribal land. At the end, people from the tribe were ready to clean up after the weekend festivities. That was part of the contract. After last act, he gets up on stage and asks the festival goers to help clean up after themselves. The crowd left it clean. No cleanup needed after. So guess clean grounds after a weekend festival may count. I feel like it might have been partly because they were on tribal land, so they felt obligated to help them, instead of causing further harm to their land. Probably also because they were directly called to help at the end, instead of the beginning, which I don't even get why you're asking at the beginning. Most people probably want to remember you said it by the end. After this thread, I would volunteer to clean up after Coachella. I feel like the money, clothes, phones, jewelry would 100 make up for the gross bits. Dude, my thoughts exactly. I have never been able to afford any designer stuff, but that would be such a clean sweep.